Hi dear friends and subscribers, welcome to the Cricket Happening Show. Yes, I'm still a bit unwell, but as I said, this Cricket Happening Show is very dear to me, so I keep coming on that. Well, I'm going to start off this particular Cricket Happening Show with some news coming in for the Champions Trophy, which is going to be played from 6th of June. It is going to be held in England in the month of June. June 6th, I reckon, is the first match, which will be the curtain raiser between India and South Africa. As we know, the Champions Trophy is something which is played by top 8 one-day international teams of the world would be actually competing in that, as you know. So India, South Africa, Pakistan, and West Indies are placed in one group. As far as the other groups are concerned, well, you can always guess it. It's Australia, England, New Zealand, and Sri Lanka would be played in the next group. So these are the 8 teams which will be competing. So Pakistan have become the first team. As you know, before 6th of April, all the teams have to give their teams, have to name their 30-man squad before the whole squad is pruned into 15 for the real Champions Trophy, which is starting in England in the month of June. So Pakistan becomes the first team to actually announce the 30-man preliminary squad, which has been selected for the Champions Trophy. And well, the surprises, they're not a real surprises. Yunus Khan was really not in good form at all on this particular tour of South Africa. Not only that, his record since 2008, he has not scored any centuries, and Yunus Khan finds himself out of favor with the Pakistani selectors, as he has not been named even in the 30-man preliminary squad for the Champions Trophy. But a big surprise, which is for me for sure, because I always feel this person from Pakistan holds enormous talent, and that is big hitter and a military and a medium pacer, Abdul Razzaq. He can change the match in a trice. I've always wondered why Abdul Razzaq has been totally kept out of Pakistan cricket, because according to me, he holds enormous talent. He has still some years left in him to really play some good knocks for Pakistan. So it has always been a puzzle for me as to why Abdul Razzaq has been kept out. So that is another surprise which is coming for me as far as Abdul Razzaq is concerned, not named in the 30-man preliminary squad which has been selected by Pakistan for the Champions Trophy. Well, I'm going to end it up here, but right now what I'm going to talk about is, as I said, today was the last day of the Bangladesh tour of Sri Lanka. And Bangladesh, who had done all the hard work, they drew the test series for the first time in Sri Lanka. They drew the one-day series for the first time in Sri Lanka. And well, the one thing that they couldn't do on this tour was they couldn't really defeat Sri Lanka at the Palakele International Cricket Stadium today, where they lost this solitary T20 match, and the last match of this Bangladesh tour of Sri Lanka, where Bangladesh lost the match to Sri Lanka by 17 runs. In fact, this was the match, as I said, was in Palakele, but one thing was good. There was some forecast for rain, but luckily the rain stayed away, and Bangladesh were the ones who actually won the toss and inserted the Sri Lankans into bat. Now for Sri Lanka, they had a very good start. As I said, they had 2 explosive openers in the middle, and especially let me talk about Kushal Pereira. He was the man of the match today. Now Kushal Pereira, he is a real replica of the former batsman, the former opening swashbuckling batsman, and now the chairman of selectors for Sri Lanka, Sanath Jayasuria. And I'm sure Sanath Jayasuria would have watched Kushal Pereira and would have thought to himself like how he was playing in his younger days. And Pereira looks an absolute replica of the left-handed, like Sanath Jayasuria, because the way he plays, the strokes that he picks up, he wallops it over mid-wicket for 6. The way he actually picks up the ball, picks its lengths and strikes it through the top, everything was absolutely resembling Jayasuria. And one was wondering whether that the late Tony Greig, who passed away in 2012, how would he would have commented about this guy Kushal Pereira? Well, I was definitely feeling that, because Tony Greig is such a commentator who always loved Sri Lanka and always used to really have heaps of praises on the Sri Lankan team. And today, if Tony Greig would have been alive, I am sure Tony Greig would have made such a comment. Oh, it's Kushal Pereira. I think he's looking like a real replica of sanath Jayasuria. And I think the other thing is that, oh boy, let me tell you, are we seeing another Jayasuria in the making for Sri Lanka? So that would have been probably Tony Greig's comments. But unfortunately, Tony Greig was not there. We all know that. But anyway, Kushal Pereira went on to make a brilliant 64. In fact, they lost Munawira quite early, as what was happening was the pace bowler Shahdat Hussain and Rubel Hussain were taken apart by Kushal Pereira. As I said, he was hitting sixes like anything. He was picking up the length so quickly that he used to just stay over there, pick up the ball and slam it over the fence for a six. And that's what he did. He hit sixes of Shahdat Hussain. He hit Rubel Hussain for six. So Shahdat Hussain was absolutely manhandled by Kushal Pereira. Sohail Ghazi was introduced, was welcomed with the six by Kushal Pereira. And I think Kushal Pereira has a real bright future here. And well, as I said, another Jayasuria in the offing for Sri Lanka now, Kushal Pereira. The way he used to stroke the ball over cover, through point, slamming it over the top and everything looked absolute replica of sanath Jayasuria. So Kushal Pereira was the man who really gave the thrust to this innings with a knock of 64. In fact, if you look at Kushal Pereira's innings, he was given an opportunity in the one-day international. This was his first 2020 match. And what I have observed as far as Kushal Pereira is concerned, how consistent he has been. He has taken his 20s to 30s to 40s, and today he got his maiden 50 in 2020 cricket. I mean, that has been his consistency. He has only been going from strength to strength. He has grown. He has totally grown. And today it was a fine innings from Kushal Pereira, making 64 runs of 44 deliveries with 5 fours and 4 sixes. And let me tell you, Kushal Pereira with Tilakatne Dilshan as an opener, I'm telling you, it is going to be something, a real headache for the opposition, because Dilshan, is an attacking player. Kushal Pereira, he can just pick up the length like Sanath Jayasuria and slam the ball, and that is going to be something that the world would be watching for sure. So Munawira was gone for 5, and then Dinesh Chandimal was also as you know, he was captaining Sri Lanka for the first time, but would have been very happy, even though he failed with just 9 runs on the board of 13 deliveries. What would have made him more happy is that being the youngest captain of Sri Lanka at the age of 23, after Arjuna Ranatunga. In fact, Arjuna Ranatunga was the youngest captain to captain Sri Lanka in the past, but Dinesh Chandimal has now broken that record. He has become the youngest captain ever for Sri Lanka at the age of 23. But what would have really made him happy is that Sri Lanka had a victory under their belt, and this was the first match that Dinesh Chandimal was ever captaining, and he got a victory under his belt. So that's a debut win for Dinesh Chandimal. Tinimani was also cheaply dismissed for 5. In fact, when the pace bowlers were really slammed in by Kushal Pereira, it was the spinners who came in and picked up the wickets. And after that, they had the all-rounders coming in and slamming the ball to all parts of the ground, especially Jivanta Mendes, who slammed 37 of 17 balls with 2 fours and 3 sixes. And Angelo Matthews chipped in with an unbeaten 30 of 27 balls with 1 4. Tisra Pereira, the other all-rounder, slammed the bowling. In fact, he hit 24 runs off one Shahdat Hussain over, that was in the 19th over, to pick up an unbeaten 22 of just 7 balls with 2 fours and 2 sixes, slammed with tremendous power. And well, Sri Lanka then reached that score of 198 for 5. The Sri Lankan bowlers leaked runs like water. Shahdat Hussain 4 overs went for 54, the costliest. Rubel Hussain 4 overs 1 for 40. Sohail Ghazi 4 overs 1 for 30 for him. The spinners were the ones who could put a little bit of a break, I would say. 4 overs 1 for 39. Mahmuda 4 overs no maiden 1 for 28. And Bangladesh, in their effort, well, they definitely put up a good chase there, because they finished up with 181 for 7. In the end, they were 17 runs short. But what was impressive was Mohammad Ashraful's innings was full of fire. He had really showed that what Ashraful is capable of. In fact, he had 2 fours and 1 6 of the bowling of Pereira when Pereira actually captured his wicket. But there was a slight bit of doubt whether Mohammad Ashraful was out, because probably he hit the thigh pad, but the umpire raised his finger, and Mohammad Ashraful was walking after making 43 of 27 balls with 4 fours and 2 sixes. Shamsur Rahman was making his debut today. As you know, he was a prolific scorer in the Bangladesh League, but what a debut Shamsur Rahman had. I would say he definitely had the rough end of the stick as far as the umpires are concerned. Shamsur Rahman, one thing one could, he was out first ball on his international debut. He was out absolutely the first ball itself. Shamsur Rahman was dismissed as he actually moved across his stumps to a ball from Angelo Matthews, and that was what prompted the umpire to raise his finger. And Shamsur Rahman dejectedly walked back to the pavilion. He was gone. LBW ball Angelo Matthews for a duck, which made the score 9 for 1. Jarul Islam looked good with a knock of 11 of 9 balls with 2 fours. Clean ball by Matthews for 11. Mushfiqur Rahim was the one who came and gave the support. The captain was the one who was giving all the support to Mohammad Ashraful, playing some very good strokes and also rotating the strike with him. But Mohammad Ashraful departed, as I said, with 43. After that, Nasir Hussain, on whom much would have depended, and he was the real hope because he has been the most Mr. Consistent for them. But unfortunately, Nasir Hussain's wicket was taken by Tisra Pereira. He was gone for 8, and that made the score 85 for 4. That was the time one thought that probably Bangladesh chances were dimming. But Mahmudullah, who was always looked out of form on the Sri Lankan tour, suddenly started coming into form, hitting some good boundaries, hitting one very good 6-2, and he was combining very well with Mushfiqur Rahim. And in fact, they had taken the score from 85 to 135. It was a 50-run stand. Now, that was the time when Sri Lanka looked like they could just pull something out here, with Mahmudullah looking good and Mushfiqur Rahim playing very well. But that was the time, that was in the 15th over, that Sri Lanka definitely lost its way. Because what happened was 2 wickets fell in quick succession. The first one was the captain Mushfiqur Rahim, who was caught by Ranga, tried to pull a delivery, caught in the deep of the bowling of Senanayake, Sachitra Senanayake, the right-arm spinner, for 39 of 29 balls with 3 fours and 1 6. Mahmudullah also perished due to a misunderstanding. In fact, there was never a third run in that, but Mahmudullah kept running, sort of in hesitation from Mominul Haq, the youngster, and Mahmudullah was gone for 31 of 18 balls with 3 fours and 1 6. And that was the one which really made Sri Lanka sense that now it was that time to really turn it on, and they really did. After that, it was very difficult for Mominul Haq, the youngster, to take any pressure there. Finally, he remained unbeaten on 26 of 16 balls with 2 fours and 1 6. Ghazi was gone for 9. Abdul Razak was not out for 6. 181 for 7. Sri Lanka winning the match by 17 runs. The bowling figures: Angelo Matthews 4 overs 2 for 37. Iranga 4 overs none for 37. Angelo Pereira actually made his debut today, but had a very forgettable debut. In fact, the debutants didn't have a good match at all, because Bangladesh, Shamsur Rahman went out for a duck. Angelo Pereira definitely did not get a chance to bat, because he's more of a batsman than a bowler. But Angelo Pereira was a left-arm spinner, but his 1 over was carted for 17 runs by the Bangladeshi captain Mushfiqur Rahim. Ranga bowled 4 overs none for 37. Malinga 4 overs 1 for 27. Senanayake was impressive, 4 overs 1 for 29. 2 overs for 25 runs and 2 wickets for Tisra Pereira. 1 over none for 6 for Jivanta Mendes. Now, almost I am coming to the end of this YouTube broadcast. One thing that I would like to tell you here: Kushal Pereira was named man of the match. But before I conclude this YouTube broadcast, I would like to say one thing. Bangladeshi fielding was left much to be desired. If they had actually improved their fielding, they could have saved a lots of runs. They could have taken a lots of catches, because there was a lot of misunderstanding between Dinesh Chandimal and Kushal Pereira, and that was the time I thought the Bangladeshi fielders have not capitalized. They really let go something. Now that is something that they have to work on. Their fielding has to really sharpen up. I'm sure if their fielding sharpens up, they could have probably restricted Sri Lanka to not. It was good of Bangladesh, I thought, in the later stages to restrict Sri Lanka to restrict Sri Lanka to something less than 200, because at one point of time it looked like Sri Lanka would probably make 225. So it was good on the part of Bangladesh, but what would have done more for them would have been their fielding. If their catching and the ground fielding would have been good, I thought Sri Lanka could have been really pushed further up by Bangladesh. But anyway, we had a good game, and well, I would say Bangladesh having done so well on this tour of Sri Lanka, it's really commendable. I think there would be more test nations now trying to invite Bangladesh to come and play test cricket in their own land. Well, dear fans, friends and subscribers, on this note, your host Ram is ending the cricket show for today. See you all tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye. Thank you.